To call to order the regular council meeting for October 8th, 2024. The time is currently 10:09 a.m. We will have the invocation by Pastor Arthur Bridges II of Greater Pearly Grove Missionary Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you now for this beautiful day that you've allowed us to see. Lord God, we thank you now even for this convening, this meeting, Lord God. We ask now, we invite now your wisdom, your discernment, Lord God. These men, these women have decisions to make on behalf of this city, on behalf of the people, Lord God. And I pray your wisdom upon them. I pray, Lord God, that they would make decisions that would seek the prosperity of this city and of the people. Lord God, we know that we cannot do anything without you, and so we just invite you into this place. Lord God, preside over this meeting. We ask your blessing upon it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Colleagues, are there any opening statements or introductions? Councilman Banks.
Thank you, Vice President Griselle. First of all, I want to thank everybody for the prayers for my family and for my wife. She is recovering and doing a whole lot better. And then also want to take the time to open this meeting in honor of my dear friend from a long time, LaFrederick DeMond Taylor, who passed on this last Sunday and was laid to rest this past Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hartley.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Vice. I'd like to just remind, just a couple of event reminders. This coming Saturday, we're going to have a musical festival at the Zoo Chilla, and we consider it our Oktoberfest. And that's from October the 12th from 11 to 4 p.m. Again, the zoo is a community spirited area, and we're glad to have everyone there. I also like to recognize in the audience one of the longest serving waste collectors in the city, Mr. Lee Bush. Thank you for joining us today. And I think we have Ms. Betterman here as well. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you. Councilman Stokes, you have any opening remarks? Councilman Foote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to give a shout out to the Century Club for the great job they did this past weekend and the beginning through the last week of running the Sanderson Farms Golf Championship. Also to congratulate Kevin Yu, who was the winner of that event. And Steve Gent, the head of the Century Club, was kind enough to provide the city council with one of their crowd control devices that I'll turn over to the city clerk here for use in keeping everything under control.
I like that. Can we get a few more of those?
I'll get some more for everybody.
Okay. Councilman Stokes, do you have any opening remarks?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to say happy birthday to some people. Miss Olivia Broach on October the 5th turned 90 years young, and Mrs. Annie Lee Webster Bradley on October the 10th will turn 100 years young. And I want to join my councilman colleague in saying that we're going to miss LaFrederick Taylor, Ed, and they go back to Reverend Taylor, go back to the Rankin County Mass Choir. There's some people who praise God and love God, and also open and close in honor of Mr. Philip Brown. And thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you so much. Next, we will go into public comments. Each citizen who is offering a comment today, you're under the 3-minute rule. You'll be given a 30-minute warning as well as a time up from the clerk. And we have today three residents of Dogwood Trail, Mr. Willie Moore, Ms. Denise Moore, and Ms. Janice Lewis. Are you present today? So they don't want to speak? Okay, they're my residents now, you sure? All right. We'll move on to Mr. Luke McClinton. Come to the mic, please. State your name for the record.
Good morning. My name's Luke McClinton. What I have is a concern with an incident that happened back the first of the year. There was an accident where a police officer actually came through the neighborhood and lost control at the intersection of Woodcrest and Old Canton Road. And luckily, the officer was okay, and had to go to the hospital, but had to be cut out. But at the same time, what it did was damage to the entryway of our neighborhood where, go,
If you could just kind of
lean down a little bit.
lean down just a
Got,
little bit.
got a neck injury. But it did damage to the entryway where the brick columns are at. And we have made more than one attempt to get in touch with the city in reference to getting this thing fixed. And what we've been given is a tort reform or a tort code to follow. And in doing that, what it basically speaks about in that tort code is what would need to be done if you want to sue the city or something of that nature. And I wouldn't think that it should even come to something to that extent when it was just an accident. Again, thank God nobody was hurt. And what we're looking at doing is, a neighborhood, what do we need to do or what it is that the city needs to do in order just to fix that brick column. We've tried to get in touch with those people, Councilman Banks, and left messages. I myself have called, and my neighbor that actually filed this, we have a claim number to get that done, as far as getting return calls and things of that nature. That's why I'm here. That's pretty much why I'm here. I have a copy of it.
Yeah, Louis Rice, CAO. We apologize for that, Mr. McClinton.
Yes, sir.
But Mr. Gray is here with Constituent Services. He'll be able to take your information and see what needs to be done with your particular situation. Mr. Gray?
Correct. Also, as part of a concern, within the past month and a half, there have been several, I'm thinking 4 within the past 60 days, service utility cuts where the infrastructure as far as the water lines have, deteriorated, and they came through and actually did the repairs. But what has happened, in particular on the corner of Woodcrest and Meadow Oaks, there's a huge orange pylon right there, and it's like the pipe that's sticking up from the center of it. And what it's done is right down at that intersection, so as you turn into the neighborhood with Old Canton being a very busy area, that's kind of dangerous because people don't always stop, and you can only enter into the neighborhood on one side. You can't enter into on both sides as far as the flow of traffic.
So do we have your information? We have
Yes.
all of your information? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get
Okay.
back with you. Let me look into it as well with Mr. Gray.
Okay.
See what we can do.
Thank you.
Mr. Banks?
Yeah, Mr. Vice President, it concerns me the amount of utility cuts that are being done by Jackson Water that are not being repaired in a decent time. And so, Mr. Vice President, I wonder if the administration is keeping up, and maybe this is a question, are you all keeping up, and can we make sure that citizens know that they can call to report those cuts? And we need to keep up with those streets as well. And when citizens come say, hey, 3 weeks ago, we've had that, we've notified them so that we can protect ourselves and people to know that we're not just laying on our back while all this is happening.
Sure. We are asking citizens to, call them in to 311, and through 311, we are keeping a record of those streets and determining whether it is the City of Jackson utility cut or Jackson Water. And we are passing that information on to Jackson Water. But we are documenting it and keeping a record of it and the timeliness of getting those repaired.
All right. I think another thing that would help, and colleagues, if we can do a resolution for this, I think it'll be good. We need to make those reports and the time they were reported public. And it needs to be somewhere so people can see that there was utility cut reported by so-and-so in October of last year, and it still hadn't been resolved.
I agree with that. Mr. Hartley?
Yes, and I've, along that same vein, I'd like to see perhaps maybe in a resolution or direct contact with Jackson Water where they have a schedule of when they expect to come back and finish that work. Because a lot of times what we're getting is these utility cuts have been exposing the public for a long time. So instead of us just making massive amount of phone calls to follow up when it's going to get done, they need to publish something. And perhaps that need to be included in the resolution as well.
I agree with that. I have some reported back in January that still have not been fixed. Anything else, colleagues?
Mr. President,
Councilman Stokes?
thank you. I want to thank Mr. Wright for trying to help us with cuts or something at Woodrow Wilson and Bullock at the train track. They put rocks down. People still have to go with the median to just get on Woodrow Wilson. It's going to be an accident or something. Now, the original plan we heard some time ago was that streets like Livingston Road, where they had to go in there and replace water lines, sewer lines, that the city, Jackson Water, or 1% would get together and repay the whole street. But it's not taking place. On Court View Street, off Lebanon Road, they went and replaced lines. It's like a dust bowl in Alpha, and people homes all dusty, no final resolution has been done. Livingston Road, near Powell School all the way up Livingston Road, you know, you have some beautiful homes in there. Now the street is improper. Is there any way we can get 1%, Jackson Water and the city to work together to follow through and do what was committed in terms of we're going to pay the streets? Because no streets I've found have been completely paved. You know, they do that spot thing, but the rest of the street is in awful condition. And, you know, if it was a lie, somebody need to own up who lied, because they said that we were going to get the streets paved. Unless I missed it, I tried my whole ward and a lot of other wards, we're not seeing streets being repaid in terms of after these cuts. You know, so I don't know where. I know it's a lot already on your plate, because what they did with the rocks did not cure the problem. And that's right there at the zoo where people trying to go. It's still water issues. People still can't get to and fro. Others going another lane, trying to get on Woodrow Wilson, and sooner or later there's going to be accidents that shouldn't happen. So, you know, who do we blame? Who do we ask to fix the problem? I know the city's saying it's not our 1%. I don't know what they're saying. We haven't talked to them, but Jackson Water saying it's not theirs. It's somebody's. You know, it look like if they work together, we could fix it.
Let us reach out to Jackson Water, and just to make sure that we have good communications in terms of these utility cuts and their timeline in terms of repairing those. And also with the 1%, there are a group of streets that the 1% sales tax commissioners have authorized in terms of repaving. And we're trying to coordinate that as well with the Jackson Water and utility cuts. And as you know, some of the streets were taken off because of some sewer issues that they need to take care of first. But just as soon as that is done, then we'll try to work. We will work with them.
They said sewer issues on Mobile, but it was just paving. They did all that.
Yeah.
But it might be time for us to revisit the federal judge and let the federal judge know some of the things that's taking place. Because I don't know if writing a letter is going to be sufficient, but the situation is becoming alarming, and it's becoming citywide. So if the federal court system is involved in this situation, you know, somewhere down the line, we need to let it be known what's not taking place, what should be taking place, because I got senior citizens calling me who can't get water on because they saying you got to go on the internet or something. Well, everybody don't have internet and all this kind of stuff. You know, it's got to be somebody that you ought to be able to call, especially at a certain age, to do an application and get some water. You know, and it's not fair, especially the older people who pay for this city and built this city. Now they can't get water. Something's wrong with that. Thank you.
Dr. Murray?
Okay, I just wanted to say in response to that is that the city has raised our concerns with the EPA about what we see as some of the problems in dealing with the third-party administrator. And the EPA will be here this week holding community meetings. So it's important that the community come out and speak to these concerns so that it shows that it's a much larger problem than the city just not liking the third-party administrator or anything like that. It shows that the community really does have concerns and issues with Jackson Water's intractable, they don't want to communicate and they don't want to work together. And that is a real problem. So I was trying to get to my email with the announcement of when the community meetings are. And this doesn't seem to be the right one. Are you aware of when the EPA is holding its community meetings? And do you know where and what time?
The East Center, Thursdays at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Thursday, it's at 6 p.m., and I think Friday, it's at either 10 or 11 a.m.
State your name for the record.
at the East Center.
State your name for the record.
I'm sorry,
please.
Melissa Faith Payne.
All right.
Mr. President.
Councilman Stokes?
Mr. President, I support whatever needs to be done, but I don't know to get a back and forth is going to solve the problem as trying to talk to the federal judge. Somewhere down the line, I think it's a simple solution to an answer, but I think right now we at this fussing and fighting with each other, and the citizens are the one that's suffering. These streets, Alpha later came in here, almost got killed, hit one of them cuts. You need to go down Livingston Road or go down Courtview Street. And I know you have them in your wards too, so people can see what we're saying. And I don't want Jackson Water to get on defensive, City of Jackson get on the defensive of the federal judge. Only thing we're trying to do is create the win-win. What it's gonna take to fix this problem so it won't become a problem any longer. There's no way in Jackson, Mississippi, at Bullock and Woodrow Wilson, one of the most traveled streets heading to hospitals, interstates, and everything else, that you got water and rocks and all kind of stuff, and they saying it's only because we're a black neighborhood. And that's not right. Somebody need to come out here, let's fix these problems. Then we can fuss and fight all day and night. But let's fix some of these problems first, and let's get this behind us. And if they can't do the job, Judge, let's get somebody else, but somebody got to do the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Councilman Harley.
Yes, before we move on, I'd just like to recognize, I know she didn't have an opportunity to speak, but Ms. Bettestein Robertson over on
Amen.
Glen Avenue, there's tree branches and other debris, but on Hillside Drive, there's the trifecta, open dumping, abandoned properties, and grass and trees growing out into the streets to limit the traffic flow. So that's on Hillside Drive. And I appreciate her for
She's looking younger and younger. I almost didn't know she's still up there. Mr. President, I think the member of the planning board had signed up to speak.
She did. I was just corrected by the clerk. My apologies. We have one more open comment, Ms. Geneva Johnson, Powers Avenue. Good morning.
Good
Please state your
morning.
name for the record.
Geneva Johnson. I'm president of the Georgetown Association, and I have a little problem that I think y'all can help me with. Okay?
Stay in the mic
Several.
for it.
Can
Ms.
you hear me?
Johnson, stay in the mic, please.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
One of the problems is we have a lot of abandoned house that has already labeled. Some was done in 81, have not been done. Have got a fire. They're doing everything in there. And we have a lot of people going in those buildings and tearing down, setting them on fire. And we have an older lady, she's about 90, she lives right across from 3 of them on Irene, and she's about 90-some odd years old. And we got 3 houses around there, need to be torn down because they're marked. But I know y'all got a new thing coming up for the new list, so we need those houses on. But we have a lot of them on Powell, not on Powell, but Crawford and Ann Banks. We also have the drainage. They fixed the drainage on Powell, and we got those same 2 holes again. So something they're not doing right because it's coming up. And then the manhole is right behind my house, so I smell all the stink. And I'm also talking about, they told us when they fixed our street, they tore it up, they was going to move, they was going to smooth it back out and fix it up. They haven't fixed it up. The church right there on the corner, it's got a pothole too. And you can't come in, 2 cars can't pass at the same time because someone going to get beat up. And also, we have some more houses that need to get their water line, the gas line was taken out when they were putting the new lines in. And they didn't have, so we need somebody to see about that, make sure that, and then we have the noise, calling the police and telling them, and when we call them, I always ask for their badge number and their name. They don't give them to me. They'll hang up before they'll give it to me. Listen, I've been trying to get a name, she'll tell me anything, they'll hang up. So she'll tell me, call 911. I call 911, they may come and they may not come. And when they do come, they gone. And you got to call them. And the minute they talk to them, they go around the corner, the policemen come down there, they go around the corner, they're putting the rules back up loud. They're shooting. We have a man that's real sick. Every time you look around, he's going to the hospital. Ambulance coming in. And some of it because of all the shooting that came out the other night, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have so much liquor, bootleg whiskey down there, and they are just doing everything. You got criminals down there that not supposed to be doing all. They got guns. And we're standing out there. So we have an officer living on there, and he's helping me out. And I'm joking, I'm paying him any attention, nor me. And so we need y'all to come out there. We need them to stop talking to them and take them to jail.
Ms. Johnson? Thank you. Your time is up. But I will say, we have Deputy Chief Johnson back there, who you can talk to, and then also Mr. Chris Gray from Constituent Services, and they'll
Okay.
take care of you.
Okay.
Mr. President.
Anything
Councilman
else?
Stokes?
Thank you. Mr. President, I want to thank the chief. He sent a squad on Powers Avenue Sunday. One lady had already said, and these are, and I wrote it down, she said, I'm a dropper. You know, when you start hearing I'm gonna drop somebody in these inner city neighborhoods, that means they're finna kill them. So what Ms. Johnson is saying, there's a situation that the chief and the police department helped us with, but she has met with the state agencies that supervise Capitol Police and others, but the help is just not showing up. And what we're trying to do is keep the commitment that the chief has made about reducing murders in this city. And I have friends throughout this city. Some neighborhoods and some wards, there's not a single killing happening. There's no fussing, there's no fighting, ain't no drunkenness. But in some wards and some neighborhoods, people getting killed every other week, 2 and 3. And it's a hard fight, and that's what Ms. Johnson is saying. She got an ex-police officer as a neighbor now who's trying to help also. But we cannot tolerate people with these guns, shooting these guns, whether they shooting in the air in the beginning, or at you or something, and nothing happened to them. It's in the wrong message that it's okay to kill, and ain't nothing gonna happen to you if you kill certain people, and especially poor people. So I thank Ms. Johnson for coming and for speaking, because if you don't speak up, and especially about these houses on Eleanor, where this lady almost 100, and the house has been marked to be torn down, and they still not torn down. And I thank the lady with Community Improvement who gave us a list, because most people don't give us the list, and it showed where the ones that have torn down, the ones that was older, that's being, I guess, I forget the word she used, I used to say reconsidered, but it's just not fair to people who've been waiting 10, 15, 20 years to get these houses torn down. They're still not happening. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. All right, colleagues, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Clerk, please read.
All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below.
So
There will be
moved.
no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. We can't discuss these, correct? Gotta put them in. All right, all in favor? Opposed? That's 4-1. All right, thank you. We're gonna move on to claims. Mr. Mellenbecker, if you can come and give us the largest claims.
Introduction been pulled.
It's not on my cheat sheet here.
Introduction order.
Introduction,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mellenbecker. Let's do the introduction of ordinance, please. Clerk.
Ordinance of the City Council of Jackson, Mississippi, renaming Short Street from Lynch Street to Dead End to Dr. Curtis C. Johnson Drive.
Okay, we do have Dr. Johnson's family here. It's my understanding that his daughter would like to offer a few words here. Please state your name for the record, and good morning.
Yes, my name is Crystal McInnes, and my sister, Courtney McInnes Lenore, we're both here representing the family of Dr. Curtis C. Johnson. We would like to extend our deepest gratitude to the Jackson City Council, and especially to Councilman Kenneth Stokes, for considering this incredible honor of naming a street near Jackson State University after my father, Dr. Curtis Johnson. His love for Jackson State, education in this great city was truly profound. He dedicated his life to fostering opportunities for students and encouraging a lifelong pursuit of knowledge. His passion for education and his devotion to family and community were central to who he was, and I know this recognition would have meant the world to him. This gesture not only honors my father's legacy, but also highlights the importance of education and the values he cherished. On behalf of the family, we are deeply touched by this tribute and thankful to everyone who plays a part in getting this done and making it come to fruition. It is a reminder that his spirit and his dedication to bettering the lives of others will forever be a part of this community. Thank you once again for this unforgettable acknowledgement.
Thank you. Councilman Hartley?
Yes, we certainly appreciate it on behalf of Ward 5. We certainly appreciate all the efforts of Dr. Johnson and all that he meant to Jackson State and the community. So thank you. We look forward to erecting this monument in his honor.
Thank you.
Councilman Banks?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say, for the record, your father has impacted a tremendous amount of young men that came through TCM or that came through M.W. Stringer, that came through where I was, Herbert Knight 714. We were all one big family on Jackson State campus, and, you know, he will be missed, and our prayers are with you.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Councilman Stokes?
Mr. President, I want to apologize to the family because I didn't have the numbers to call to make sure I could invite them, but I saw them at the funeral and I told them what we were going to do. And they said it would be wonderful to have it done. The reason it's back on the agenda is because before it had its honorary, what we're doing is trying to make sure it's going to be completely done. And like this, right there by the Masonic Lodge in Jackson State. But he was a well-loved person. I mean, he'll bend over back for anybody to give you anything that he had, but we got to start saying thank you to a lot of these educators.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of us have opportunities because an educator gave us a chance and worked with us. So we're going to try to get in contact with Dr. Glover and everybody else and make sure everybody's here in honor of your father. He was a very, very special person, and everybody loved him. So we thank y'all so much, and there was a mistake of what they said, the head not the heart, or the heart not the head, but it won't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, this ordinance will be adopted on the 22nd of October. So we invite you back. Councilman Banks?
Yeah, question. Our sign shop is up and running. Are we able to produce these signs ourselves?
We are.
Okay, all right.
Lewis Rice CAO, we are.
Okay, good
If
deal.
not, we contracted out.
Okay, all right, great deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now we'll move to claims. All right, Mr. Mellenbeck, if you can come and give us the large claims, please. Sorry, clerk.
Order approving claims appearing at pages 1, 2, inclusive thereon on municipal docket of claims in the amount of $4,483,137.66 for and making appropriation for the payment thereof.
Second, it's been moved and properly second. Mr. Mellenbeck, please give us the largest claims.
Good morning, Fidelis Malenbecker, CFO. We do have an amendment for this docket, and that is to add a payment of $6,550. This is for the election workers. This is an item that was going to
So
be-
moved.
Yeah.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. Any question? All in favor? Opposed? 5-0. All right, so now we have claims as amended on the floor.
Okay. And the following represent the four largest claims on this docket. They are as follows. The first is Fisher Brown Bottrell Insurance in the amount of $2,417,252.62, paid out of Fund 1, General Fund. This is for the 2024-2025 property insurance premiums. Second is the Evans Agency Incorporated in the amount of $343,219, paid out of Fund 1, General Fund. This is for the workers' compensation insurance renewal.
Thank you, you do too. Oh.
Please mute.
Look at the big old
Who is
crack
that?
in the concrete. Thank you.
Who was that?
Somebody named Pete. They gone now.
Potty mouth.
Okay.
Okay.
The third is Jackson Hines Library System in the amount of $290,386.50, paid out of Fund 399, Library Fund. This is for the October 2024 appropriations, Jackson Hines Library. And the fourth is Public Employee Retirement System in the amount of $106,488.71, paid out of Fund 55, Disability and Relief Fund. This is for the transfer of taxes, September 2024. And that is a report for the four largest claims.
Thank you. Mr. Hartley. I'm sorry, Mr. Foote.
Okay.
Totally the wrong direction. All
I
right.
understand how we get it confused.
It's so close. It's so close. Hey, it's so close.
You just use a peripheral vision.
I do not have my glasses. Mr. Foote.
On the first item, the insurance premium, now, last year, we signed up with Berkshire Hathaway, and I'm curious why. Did they choose not to renew our policy, and if so, why?
So I think you're referring to, this is an item that is coming up, that's the reinsurance.
Uh-huh.
I think that's what you're referring to. Berkshire Hathaway had the policy, and they did not offer a renewal, but we had, I think, 3 different quotes.
Uh-huh.
And the lowest came in with, I don't recall the actual name of the company. That will come up in the order.
Okay.
And the renewal is fairly flat. There was no increase in the renewal
So
amount.
it's the same premium that we were paying before?
For reinsurance, yes.
Reinsurance.
This particular one is for the property insurance. This is a decrease. Last year, the premium was $2.7 million. But this renewal is actually less at 2.4.
Oh, okay.
Yes, for property insurance.
Oh, so that's a separate item, not?
That's separate.
Okay.
That's related to health insurance.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Mr. President?
Councilman Stokes.
Thank you. Doc, I have a lot of trust in you and your direction. This is the first meeting of the new budget year. What's our status in terms of all the bills that were paid last budget year, in terms of the fund balance?
So, Councilman, I take it you did not receive the report, because I know last meeting we said the report will be shared with you. It was emailed, but
I asked you to give it to Mr. Stokes and write.
yeah.
He don't,
Yeah,
Give me an email machine.
yeah.
he don't take email.
And I thought it was printed out for you, but Sharon, if you could just print it out and then let's
Okay, I'll
hand it
get
to
it
him.
that
Yeah,
way.
we'll put it in your hand.
Thank you, and if I have questions, I'll call you back.
Sure.
But in
Yes.
terms of paying our bills,
Yes,
and I know you had a big hill to climb,
right.
but you're slowly getting there. Are we closer to most of our vendors now being paid in a timely manner, where they feel comfortable with the city? Because in past years, they would come and do work because they knew they were going to get their money.
Yes.
So are we almost at that position with them again, where they know they'll get their money, we can get them to come do work and pay them a little later?
Sure. So for the update, and I think we did mention, and this will be taken up in the Finance Committee meeting, we actually have the report. So we were looking at January, we had about $9.4 million in outstanding invoices, right? The work we had to do was collect information, and based on what we collected, we had about $7.9 million of it was in Public Works. In July, we brought it down. For Public Works, they were down to about $88,000 in outstanding.
Out of 9 million.
Overall, it was like $400,000. And a lot of what was left has a lot of questions tied to it. We have legal department doing some research, specifically addressing some statutory issues. And then some of them are questions with Jackson Water, right? So those are the major outstanding invoices that we have. But we've reduced them significantly. And now what we're doing is, because the issue, like when you would ask me, what do we have? And that would represent, based on what we have, not knowing what was within different divisions. So what we've done now is we have put together a vendor self-service system where vendors get to register with the city, and this is how they would transmit the invoices so that we know, right? Because if it's mailed to somebody else, quite frankly, it's hard to tell what's out there. But this system here, if you ask me what's outstanding, I can look in the system and see where the invoice is. The vendor can actually also log in, and they can tell the status of their invoice in terms of line for payment.
Thank you.
So we are going to be rolling out the system this month. They've been testing, I think the 25th of this month. We have notifications going out to other vendors. I know, I think you've shared that it would be nice to, I think Councilman Hartley, you mentioned touching bases with the vendors, right?
Yes.
This is part of the communication that's going out to all the vendors. So we feel good
Progress.
with where we are now.
Progress. Thank you, Mr.
All
President.
right, Mr. Banks?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice President. This may be small, but I think it's very significant, especially when it comes to our smaller business community. There's a company that reached out to my office, C&J Towing. And C&J Towing, from my understanding, is been contacted by the police department to tow. And when it comes to his payment, what he is being told, and I'll give you the name, I'm not going to say it publicly, but I'll give you the name of Dr. Amar, the name after this meeting, is being told. And what concerns me, you trying to say that? It's on the agenda? Okay, all right. Well, just when it comes to the misinformation that's being communicated from employees, because what they did say was the city attorney's office said we can't pay you. And when I looked into that,
See what you did.
Might have called the colonel.
They said it was a sharp beat.
Don't call the colonel.
Yeah,
When those initially came to me to review, I always check to make sure that we've got the right vendor name according to the Secretary of State's office.
right,
When I checked, C&J Towing's,
information,
well, they had been administratively dissolved.
okay.
So we communicated that to them. They got that straightened out, and now it's on to
Okay.
be paid.
Yeah, well, yeah, because they called us earlier this morning, they're saying, well, this certain lady is still saying that the city attorney's saying we're not going to be able to pay you. I said, I'll bring that up this morning. But I thought it would be interesting for you to know that that's what's being said.
Can you just state your name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry, Terry Williamson, Office of the City Attorney.
Thank you. Colleagues, good. You good? Okay, all right. All right, so now we're going to vote on claims. All in favor? 1, 2, 3. Opposed? Okay, wait. Councilman Foote, how are you voting? All right, in favor, opposed? All right, it's 4-1. Thank you. Now we're going to do payroll. Clerk?
Order approving gross payroll, including payroll deduction claims number 30796, to and make an appropriation for the payment thereof.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? All right, 5-0. Now we're going to move to, we're going to table item 28 until the 22nd. Item 29, clerk.
Order authorizing the mayor and the municipal officials to execute the 2024 municipal compliance questionnaire required by the Office of the State Auditor for the state of Mississippi.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any questions, colleagues? All in favor? All right, it's 5-0. Item 30.
Order accepting the proposal of Reunion Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association Insurance Company submitted by Fisher Brown Bottrell to provide specific excess risk insurance coverage for active and retired city employees covered under the City of Jackson's Medical Benefits Plan for the plan year commencing January 1st, 2025, and ending December 31st, 2025, and authorizing the execution of the necessary documents to effectuate said coverage.
All right.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? All right, 3-2. All right, passes. Item 31.
Order authorizing the mayor to execute a renewal agreement and other necessary documents with United Healthcare Services, Inc. to serve as the third-party administrator for the City of Jackson's employee retirees medical benefits plan from January 1, 2025 to December 31st, 2027.
So move.
Second. It's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Abstain.
All right, that's 4, 1 abstention, 4-1, all right. Item 32.
Order authorizing the mayor to enter an end-user license agreement with Chorus Intelligence, Inc. to provide digital investigation software for the Jackson Police Department.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments?
Question.
Mr. Harley,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just, we discussed this in a work session yesterday, and the software gives us give our crime-fighting abilities to use social media now to help in the crime-fighting efforts, and I think it's a good move. We are working with a lot of other municipalities, networked around the state and around the country, and I certainly appreciate them stepping up and using all tools available. Thank you.
all right, Mr. Stokes.
Thank you. The issue of fentanyl is on the agenda, and trying to make sure we have someone who will be here, stay around and tell the council about that. My concern is I believe that a police officer take a job like anyone else, but he won't go home to his family and hug his children and everything else, everybody else. I don't think they take the job to commit suicide. And I'm saying that because, as Councilman Hartley was saying, we used to have a strong intelligence department, and I hope we can build it back up. But it's bad folks coming from all over the country to Jackson now. And we got to be able to know who they are, where they're coming from, and what's their overall goal. So intelligence is just a word they use, so maybe we should give it another name. But it's important that we know who these bad actors are all over this country. They're slowly finding home or finding a place to commit crime or operate in Jackson. This not the place. They don't need to come here with that kind of mentality. So I support this item, and I support our police officers having a safe job. And something that we have on the agenda later is that we got to get energy to put these lights on in these high crime areas. I saw a police officer when I was going to get some gas. He was patrolling that abandoned house here, lights off. You know, some of these gang members and other people, you know, initiation and other things gonna lead to somebody getting hurt. That's why I say 2 minutes to a car till we get it under some kind of control. But, you know, you need the police. And that's what Ms. Johnson, who spoke today, was trying to tell you. In some neighborhoods, you might think you don't need them today, but you'll need them tomorrow. Thank you.
Mr. Banks?
Yeah, no, Mr. Vice President, I was just trying to make sure Mr. Stokes didn't go ahead and discuss 46 in its entirety and try to pull it, because there's some things that I believe is very, very important, especially when it comes to fentanyl being sold in service stations. So I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't being slick and going on to talk about it, say pull it, and then leave early.
Ms. Foote?
Thank you, Mr. President. For the benefit of our audience who didn't hear the presentation or the summary of what this software does, and also for the record that we have on video record from the regular meeting, could you give us just sort of in 100 words or less what this software does, how it enables y'all to do a better job of being timely and on effective as policemen?
Eric Fox, Jackson Police Department. So just to add on to what Councilman Stokes was referring to as building the intelligence department, this administration with Chief Wade, when he was appointed by the mayor on last year, one of the immediate changes that he made was to bring the intelligence department back. I think that was done within the first couple of weeks of when he was appointed. So over that period of time, so we didn't spend tax dollars on it. We were charged with going out and seeing what the Department of Justice would do for us. And they have been very generous through grant funding, and they have everything that we've done over the past 8 or 9 months now has been fully funded by the Department of Justice with Bureau of Justice and Administration with those grants. So we have not asked the City Council to fund anything other than just accepting our grants and allowing us to move forward with those. So course intelligence is another layer of what we've been adding on. We have noticed over the past few years that a lot of criminal acts are being documented on social media or being documented after they have committed acts. So not only violent acts, but if there's a property crime where they break into someone's home and steal an item, they have been known to brag about those things and post them online. So as a result, sometimes some of the name handles that they use are not their real names, of course. So we found difficulty identifying those particular individuals that were involved in those crimes. So it made it harder for our detective bureau to bring those folks to justice. So when we have a name or a social security number or something that identifies them, that makes it the easier part. We get to identify this person. But younger folks that commit crimes they don't have a criminal history, so it's a little bit more difficult for us to ID those individuals. But what younger people are doing today is they are highly involved in social media. It is the way of the world, it's the way of tomorrow, and it adds on to what our virtual policing vision is for this particular chief of police of moving outside of what all of us are used to, and we're moving to a virtual policing era. So Chorus, what it allows us to do is, say I have a name handle and my name's not attached to any of that, it allows us to document and run through a database that particular name, that handle, and it is attached to whatever's attached to my names, which would be email addresses, phone numbers, social security numbers, date of birth, things of that nature, and it allows us to go back and ID these folks. Also, if I take a picture of that crime or that item, we use AI intelligence. As you all know, the City Council has allowed us to utilize some of those components in our division. And so if I take a picture of it, it will stamp where I was at, what I was doing, and who all was with me at that particular time without getting too public about it. So if I take a picture, it allows where I was at, what location I was at that particular time when I posted on social media. So it's a good layer to what we're using. And it's fully funded by the Department of Justice.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. What about, do we have equipment, Mr. President?
Go ahead.
Do we have we used to have a lot of equipment. Have we, our old equipment, have we got some of it back? Have we found equipment? Are we trying to get new equipment also? And I know you're saying that all this, most of it's coming from grant money. Mm-hmm. But we used to have all kind of transportation and all kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, we're fully funded right now with when it comes to intelligence components.
Yeah.
So as far as the equipment, are you referring to surveillance equipment, things like that?
Oh, we had everything.
Yeah, that'd be a question for, yeah, there you go.
Assistant Chief Wendell Watts with the Patrol Division. Yes, we are looking at doing some upgrades on surveillance equipment, other needed equipment. We're also working on lines with the Fusion Center with the state, which already have a lot of this. We're working with the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics. We're also working with the Capitol Police Department, our federal partners. Whatever we don't have, we're going to try to utilize who has it right now, and then over the next 6 months to a year, we're going to look at purchasing everything that we need.
Now, Chief, you will be here for fitting discussion.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Harley?
Yes, I guess the chief,
Yes, sir.
we certainly appreciate the efforts of the intelligence community, JPD. I guess the message to any criminal elements is that we're going to track you, going to find your license plate. We're going to track you on media, whatever means necessary. Jackson is not the place for crime.
Yes, we're going to use all technology that we can to help catch and prosecute our criminal element.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, any more comments or questions? All right, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor? 5-0, passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 33.
Order ratifying the purchase of a York Air-Cooled chiller for Thaw Memorial Hall made pursuant to the mayor's August 20th, 2024 declaration invoking emergency procurement procedure.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments?
Question, comment.
Councilman Stokes?
Thank you, Dr. Wright and everyone involved. We thank you. It's not a lot we can say. Some of us had started going to a couple of the shows, and I talked at the council meeting about the improvements that had taken place, excuse me, at the Almara Hall. And, you know, with this situation, it might lose focus of the improvements. I mean, because there'd have been improvements. I used to see it and seeing everything. So, again, you know, step in the right direction. We can make sure that we build it bigger and better. And that's what's going to happen. I think when you look over this whole state, it's not a lot of cities with an auditorium the size and quality of Jackson. So maybe we're not big as Nashville's, but we bigger than Bug Tussle. So keep up the good work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any more questions or comments? All right, all in favor? Passes 5-0. All right. Item 34.
Order ratifying purchases and procurement of services from one vendor and authorizing payment to Johnson Controls.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Colleagues, any questions or comments? All in favor?
Abstain, Mr. President.
4-1. All right, item 35.
Order authorizing the mayor to execute a grant agreement between the City of Jackson and Micro Enterprises to expend community development block grant from the Department of Housing and Urban Development totaling $80,359.66 for economic development activities in Jackson Metropolitan Statistical Area.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments? Councilman Hartley?
Yes, just from our meeting yesterday, this is concerning small businesses. And as the director said yesterday, or department head said yesterday, we want small business to step up and apply for this. And I think you included a telephone number. Is this correct? 769-275? Nope, that's another number. Okay, how about 601-960-1611? And that is for if any small business, and you can give me the parameters, that needs possible grant money out there, then it's available. Can you share a little bit more
Yeah,
information?
that's correct. Yika Hoover, Office of Economic Development. So we do have grant opportunities available for small businesses in the city of Jackson. This particular grant opportunity is for micro enterprises, which is businesses that are 5 or fewer employees. One has to be an owner of the business. We do have other opportunities such as the relief grant the facade grant. All of these are for small businesses located within the city of Jackson in commercially zoned locations. And so you can call me at 601-960-1611, and we can see about getting you approved for a grant.
One individual, one business that I know is interested and approached me several times is Adams Corner. the
We're
barbershop.
working with Adams Corner
We're
for
working
a
with them
facade
already.
grant, yes.
Very good, then. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Councilman Stokes?
Thank you. We're talking about almost 1.5 million?
No, well, so HUD gives the city, through its entitlement money, $1.5 million for CDBG monies, but that's not what we have in economic development to expand for grants. I think for CDBG CV, we received like $880,000. And well, we get different amounts for each year. For CDBG, for instance, for 2024, we're getting like $120,000. So it's different amounts that we get for regular CDBG money, but the CDBG CV money was a one-time amount for like $880,000.
So how much are we looking at having available?
I don't have my spreadsheet available right now, but I think I roughly have around $250,000 left in CV money, and I may have around maybe $200,000 left in regular CDBG, but don't quote me on that. Somewhere around that is what I have available left to expand to small businesses.
Now, the only complaint we hear, what I've heard, it's not many complaints, is that sometimes we're telling people they've been approved, then they get excited and make preparation, they come back and tell them they're not approved.
That has, according to what I understand, happened one time, and I think know the business owner we're talking about. And that was an unfortunate instance where we thought that business owner had provided some documentation that turned out was not provided. But we were able to work with that business owner on another grant opportunity, and I think he's going to get paid out here in this, what we're talking about here
So
today.
he need to call back and say somebody did something versus calling saying what they didn't do.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate error on our part, and I take full
No problem.
responsibility for that.
No problem, thank you.
All right, Mr. Hartley? Oh, Mr. Foote.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I need a mirror point.
On the
that way.
first page of this
Thank you.
order, go down here says, the city of Jackson has determined that these micro enterprises met the following criteria. And then you go down to 6. It's the sixth bullet point says have $250,000 or less in annual gross revenue for calendar year 2029. How are they going to know what their revenue is going to be in 2029?
I think that's a typo. I don't have the order right there before me, but I think that's a typo.
What should we amend it to?
I think it should say 2022, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I'm not sure we need to amend it, but
Yeah,
anyway.
because this is reimbursement. So this would have been them having this prior, so this is CV money. So they would have had to, this would have been before. So it wouldn't have been for 2024 or 2029. It should probably say 2022.
All right, thank you.
All right. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? 5-0 passes.
Thank you.
She does a good job explaining things.
She does. I don't know what CV is, but she does. All right, item 36, clerk.
Order ratifying procurement of services from Johnson Controls, Inc. and authorizing payment to said vendor.
So move.
Second. It's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments?
Question, is there anyone? Nobody? Oh, Doc.
Mr. Wright, Mr. Wright, right there.
Hey, this is for the HVAC system at Dalmar. Look, Doc, sometimes you have to do things to make things happen. And I think y'all doing a good job trying to do it because sometimes money don't just sit there. Now, the Meg Evans Library, that's why we're asking also their system. They're concerned about one, the getting cold. Do we have everything planned for them to have them.
Louis Rice, CAO, we do have plans in terms of ordering the system that we will be installing at the Medgar Evers Library. We do have a temporary air conditioning system there now that I think it will expire the end of this month. And at that point, we will, hopefully will not be needing any air conditioning. And by the time we start using air conditioning again, we will have a new system in place.
Now, they concerned about heat. What do we have planned for the heat? They saying that they don't.
Let me look and see whether or
Yes,
not the
sir,
heating
that's
is
fine.
tied to it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any more questions or comments? All right. All in favor? Passes 5-0. Item 37.
Order ratifying procurement of elevator repairs from TK Elevator Corporation and authorizing payment to said vendor.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Colleagues, any questions or comments? All in favor? All right, passes 5-0. Item 38.
Order ratifying procurement of towing services by the municipal garage from C&J Towing LLC and authorizing payment to said vendor.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. Colleagues, any questions or comments? Councilman Hartley.
Yes, just one question, Mr. Wright. You shouldn't have looked up. Just one question. Are we still enforcing towards our tow companies, where they have to remove bumpers and other debris from accidents?
That is still the plan in terms of where there's an accident there to clean up that area. So
Okay.
the police department is enforcing that.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Mr. President.
Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. And I think I brought it up before. I want to bring it up again because we keep hearing these horror stories about Capitol Police towing in Jackson. And they got these companies taking Jackson citizen automobiles to Rankin and Madison County. Now, I know we have an ordinance that they must have a place in Jackson, and I understand that we're talking about a different law enforcement agency, but it's not fair that our citizens have to go into other counties, and a lot of them can't afford it, to try to get their car back. Now, if they're going to police in Jackson, they need to have a place in Jackson. So I don't know if the court system is the way that we need to go, but we need to go some kind of direction to get this situation corrected. Now, again, I know they're using companies from everywhere, and that might be their discretion, but they can't put this kind of hardship on the citizens out of Jackson. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Banks.
Yeah, Mr. Vice President, I will encourage, I think this body should pass a resolution and put those things that Councilman Stokes is mentioning, even the things when it comes to city ordinances and city laws being upheld by Capitol Police, and pass a resolution and give it to our attorney's office for the negotiation of a MOU. I think that is the only way that we could make sure that there's some type of enforcement of our city ordinances by Capitol Police, is that whoever the legal representation is for Capitol Police and the city come together and have an effective MOU that addresses those things.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Banks, this is your second resolution you suggested today. So you'll be doing a lot of writing. Huh?
Yeah, he goes draw.
Y'all gonna help.
Mr. Hartley.
Just, before we get too deep in the weeds here, just from our legal perspective, our legal office, do we have jurisdiction to enforce where they take these vehicles from a state standpoint? Or is there some kind of law where the state, has absolute ability? Just, you can nod, that'd be fine.
I'm not sure I understood exactly.
The question is, if we go to tell them you can't take our vehicles to Madison, is there some underlying law or something like that?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay, so fine.
You had to have a MOU.
So, and you guys are going to work on that? Thank you.
One question.
Councilman Stokes.
Because this law enforcement agency, and I know they're working on the creating the course now, it was created in a different environment. Don't you think there's a federal question somewhere in there that'll take us out of state court, where we can probably try to get some relief in federal court? It's all right. Don't have to answer that. So we'll put you on the spot. All right, we'll deal with it. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments?
All right.
All right, all in favor? Passes 5-0. Item 39,
Order authorizing procurement of traffic signal repairs from Metro Communications and Utility Contractors, LLC, and authorizing payment to said vendor.
So moved.
Second.
it's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments? Councilman Hartley?
Just one, thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just one thing, I wanted to thank Mr. Wright and Mr. Cardwell for removing the traffic light there on Bobby Rush Boulevard. It was absolutely unnecessary, and people, wholehearted folks, had to stop for absolutely no reason, because the past traffic was eliminated when the building went away over there at MDEQ. So thank you for that. Now folks can easily progress down Bobby Rush Boulevard without being stopped and inconvenienced.
All right, all in favor? All right, passes 5-0. Item 40,
Order ratifying Amendment Number 1 to the agreement with Redmond Lawn and Cleaning Service, LLC, for the city right-of-way maintenance services.
So moved.
second. It's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments?
Just
Councilman Hartley?
Yeah, just one. I understand that we need someone to provide coverage both at the cemeteries and especially the citywide. But I would encourage us to move with haste on getting that RFP out. Perhaps we can find a cheaper remedy for the entire city for a longer period of time. And I support right now just filling the gap, but we need to move with haste to getting that RFP done for a citywide right-of-way cleanup. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any more questions or comments?
Yeah.
Councilman Stokes?
It's all right, Mr. President. Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? All right, 3-2, passes. Item 41.
Order ratifying Amendment Number 1 to the agreement with PDT Logistics, LLC, for mowing and grounds maintenance within the city of Jackson cemeteries.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments? Councilman Foote?
Thank you. I had a gentleman at lunch yesterday tell me that there's parts of Greenwood Cemetery that still haven't been cut. He was, somewhat disappointed in that, for what it's worth.
Any more questions or comments? All right, all in favor? Opposed? All right, passes 3-2. Item 42.
Order increasing the contract amount for the term contract with Fisk International Group Corporation for chipping and grinding of debris at the city rubbish facility for the Department of Public Works.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments?
Question.
Councilman Stokes?
Thank you, Doc. Did we not have a discussion about expanding the landfill? And what's the status of that? And do we not have something coming soon about the transfer of garbage or the transfer of waste? I think that we own. Yes, sir. Please, I'm sorry.
Louis Wright, CAO.
While he's figuring out the mic there,
Councilman
getting back
Harley.
online, Councilman Stokes, I think during our recent budget, we approved three major things. One was that we approved the use of taxpayers' money for the scales, which should help, especially during emergencies. Also, we approved monies for the sale expansion, and that will increase, that'll increase our ability to be able to place waste there.
Sale expansion.
Yes, sir. At the current rubbish landfill.
What kind of time frame are we on with that?
Now, that, you're going to have to, I think you're going to have to get with the solid waste team.
We'll have to get a time from Ms. Weathers on that, but the opening up that cell is in process now. This chipping and grinding is part of that as well, so that we can expand the capacity of our facility to take in more.
The other item we approved on the budget was to increase CDL capabilities, the commercial driver's license, because we have roll-off trucks and other things, but we need drivers for that, so we can clean up these open dumps around the city.
Well, I think it's gonna help because these other dump places are increasing their fees so high, and that's why people in Jackson keep dumping more and more. But if we open our sale, we'll be able to have a better rate for our citizens to dump. So I know I heard, I just wanted to try to verify. Thank you, Councilman Hart.
Yes, sir, and if you can get with a time frame for that sale.
I will get that.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. All in favor? All right, passes 5-0. Item 43. Clerk?
Order authorizing the mayor to execute supplemental agreement number 2 to the contract of Henfield Construction Company, Inc. for construction of Mill Street Town Creek Bridge Project, Federal Aid Project Number STP-7261-00002, LPA 108070-7010000.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Abstain.
All right, we have 4-1, passes. Item 44.
Resolution of the City Council of Jackson, Mississippi, supporting 2 police officers in a patrol car in high-crime areas.
So move.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. Councilman Stokes, would you like to comment on this?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we did this as a resolution because we want to make sure that the discretion would be in the hands of the chief of police. It's important that we recognize that some of these high crime areas are completely out of control. And that's why it's so important we have the intelligence and trying to get the intelligence to know what's going on. But it's routine when we go to work, we look to come home from work, hug our families, eat dinner and everything else. But somewhere down the line, somebody or someone came up with some mentality that a police officer is supposed to down his job. He's not supposed to go home and hug his family and kiss his children. And that's what we need to stop. In these high crime areas, and I know they're not afraid. I asked Lee Vance when he was the chief, I said, Chief, they said, y'all afraid. He said, Candy, we the biggest gang in town. We ain't afraid of nothing. And it's not a thing of fear. It's a thing of safety. In these high crime areas, till we get this thing under control, get these bad actors out of here, let's make sure they are doubly safe. Let them go home and hug and kiss their children. Let them go home and love their families like we love ours. They already have a hard job, not getting paid that much. I think of them and teachers. My mother taught school 30-some years and spent most of her money on buying supplies and things for the students. Well, these police officers see all kind of horror stories. They spending their money trying to help those families where mama might be on crack, ain't no daddy. Kids, they seeing them, trying to change them, trying to get them to stay on the right course and stay in school. We got to make sure that they're safe. Now, I know some parts of the city, they don't need 2 officers in a car. They don't need it. It's quiet. It's safe. I ride this city. But some parts in Edwards Avenue, when I go and get my gas and saw this officer patrolling Edwards Avenue and Mays Street, I got scared for him. Dog, just black dog. But he's doing his job. Abandoned home, burnt homes, but he's doing his job. Not even a year ago, 15-year-old was killed next street over on Lambton Avenue. It's high crime areas and it's drugville. And when them people on that dope, and when I say them people, I'm not saying one particular kind of people. I'm talking about drug fiends. Ain't no telling what they gonna do. And what we want to do is make sure they don't do nothing to hurt these police officers. So I think that's enough said, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Hartley.
Yes, and I agree concerning these very high crime areas. I do know, sometimes our code folks will even wear bulletproof vests just because they have to go around some of these properties and some of these areas. I'd like to hear from the chief if there's any comments. Again, we do not want to put our police officers at risk, especially in the high crime areas.
Assistant Chief Wendell Watts of Patrol. Since Chief Wade's taken over, of course, we're building the police department back up. We're hoping to be at full force soon, and we're short, I think, about 5 or 6 officers right now. And, once we reach that mark, we've restructured several things throughout the department. We've changed the action unit, which was a proactive unit that's on the street, to a fully functioning narcotics unit now. We will be focusing with the drug enforcement support of the federal government, and we will also be focusing with NBN along with our local partners. We're looking at doing a Metro task force with the Sheriff's Department. On the narcotics, we're looking at doing a carjacking and auto theft task force with the state. Because what we've found out is all the carjackers or carjacked vehicles and auto theft vehicles are what the vessel is driving them from point A to point B to commit the crimes. And so normally when they get it, they go and try to hide it. They'll put it in a garage, they'll put it behind an abandoned house, things like that. So we want to get a little more creative and get a little more proactive in being able to get that. But we realize we also have, of course, a fentanyl epidemic. The state reported, I think, 191 fentanyl overdoses in the state of Mississippi so far. And, that number is high, but I'm sure that it's not accurate as to what it truly is. Because a lot of people don't want to recognize it and put out that, hey, my family member died of an overdose. But we know that there's a drug problem. We know there's a gang problem. And Chief Wade and I have sat down extensively looking at resources and where we want to move manpower and place manpower to be able to address these. A two-man car is something that we are considering. In certain areas. We also like to do what we call shadowing, which is having 2 units in the same area, which will keep them just, maybe a mile or 2 apart, which will be a much faster response time for that. But these are things that we're looking at, but that looks at also manpower issues. But we're trying to be, good stewards with the city's money, so we're looking at where we can best put people and utilize our federal and local partners also to be able to assist us with these problems. But yes, law enforcement is in need of more manpower. We will, as soon as we hit the 275 mark, we will be coming here and saying we need some more manpower.
So, but we do have a quick response. If one individual is out there and, they get the tingly feeling.
Of course, quick response would be the 2-man unit.
Right.
He's right there. But any response, over 30 seconds is not a quick response when things are going really bad, because everybody's probably been in a schoolyard fight. You know that 30 seconds is a long time. You watch a UFC fighter and they're in good shape and they start wearing out midway into the fight, that'll tell you. But, when you start getting in a possible situation where people's lives are in danger, you want the response time to be very quickly, and we pride ourselves on our response time, which is usually within under, or 3 to 5 minutes.
Well, I'm trying to address basically having two police officers
Yes.
at a scene to protect each other.
Yes.
And that response time
Yes.
to be a pair.
Yes. If not, your response time could be anywhere from 90 seconds to 5 minutes.
Amen.
Councilman Banks?
Yeah, just real quick, Chief, and Councilman Stokes, I'm fine with this. At the end of the day, as long as it's left up to the discretion of the chief
Absolutely.
Yes.
to run his department, so I'm cool with it. Being that we're close to the window of 275, this does give us the green light to go ahead and apply for those extra positions from DOJ. Am I correct?
Yes.
Is there a timeline on when that application, or when we're going to go ahead and do that?
That application should be available going into next year,
Okay,
and we will apply for it as soon as it's available.
okay, all right, good deal.
Any more questions or comments? All in favor? Passes 5-0.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Item 45.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr.
could
Stokes.
we hold this item to the next meeting so we can talk to members of the body and everybody? I'm not saying this happened, and I didn't talk to the chief or anybody, but I had a visit from Ms. Keisha Sanders, stopped by my home, and that normally does not happen. Normally, I had stopped being on the porch at merge, but she stopped by. I didn't really say anything, but I think it's always good that you let everybody in law enforcement, let everybody know when something like that happens. The only thing, she basically just stopped by and just said who she was. But I don't want to vote on nothing today and that it happened. I still talk to the chief and everybody else and let them know that it happened, but I'm going to always say what happened if it involved Kenny Stokes. So she did stop by my house last week. Nothing was said that alarmed me, but I think it's important
Now, Councilman Stokes.
that we let everybody know.
Okay. All right.
So we'll hold it.
We're going to hold it. All right, so we don't need to get on the floor. Yes, sir. All right, we're going to move into the discussion. Item 46, Councilman Stokes, fentanyl.
Ooh, thank you, Chief. Chief Watts is here to help us. A young lady told me about her neighbor had died, and his neighbor died. And when she told me it was fentanyl, I said, what? Because most of us don't know what it is. We've heard things, but we have no idea the impact. So when I asked the chief about it, and he said Chief Watts is an expert, he'll be glad to tell us, because it's a scary issue even for our police officers. They said because you can touch it, and it could kill you.
Yes.
So I'm going to put us in the hands of the experts to let us know what we need to look out for and everything.
Unfortunately, the fentanyl outbreak is coming from, of course, black market fentanyl. It's not pharmacy grade fentanyl. It's made, and the pharmacy grade fentanyl helps patients that are in need of that type of medication, but it also gives you a certain type of, high that, people want on that, drug-seeking level. But when it's made out in the drug cartel, or, however you want to say, the drug trafficker, when it's made there, they may cut too much. They may put too much fentanyl in it. And when it happens, it can kill you instantly. It can also absorb through the skin, so when the officer is touching the person or trying to render aid to the person, it can absorb into them. They have a thing out that's called Narcan, which goes and completely reverses what's going on, sometimes instantaneously. I was out on a 17-year-old that we ended up hitting him after we'd had him tubed. We were doing compressions on him. He was ashen gray. He in all terms were dead, but we were working on him as best we could, and We hit him 5 times with the Narcan, and finally he stood up. Of course, when he stood up, he didn't know where he was. They become very violent at that point because they snap out of everything. They don't know what's going on. They don't know anything. We ended up saving the kid because of the Narcan. We've been working with a few groups that have been giving us the Narcan to be able to put in the patrol car units and everything. So we've got to get the officers trained. There are no side effects, like if somebody's down, it's not going to hurt to give Narcan. It doesn't have any effect to the body other than being a reaction agent to the chemicals in your body that are overriding you.
It's the nasal spray one?
Yes.
Okay.
And so, but the state has passed that there's a lot of places that can get grants now for the Narcan, and they're handing it out to, places where there's going to be a lot of overdoses and to where it's going to be more readily available. So, but it is a bad drug, a very bad and dangerous for not just the person that's using it, but for the, people that are coming in contact, whether it be law enforcement, whether it be fire, or whether it be ambulance, or even say it's one of your loved ones, and you go to help your loved one that went down, and it can knock you down too. Yes, sir.
We attended a meeting, was that Friday? Friday with No Harm.
Yep.
I forgot the name of the organization, but I ordered my Narcan kit Friday and it arrived yesterday.
Yes.
And I know that JPD received some.
We received 4 boxes.
4 boxes. And so
Yes.
I know quite a few young people who have fallen due to this fentanyl issue.
Yes.
Neighbor, same thing. And so it's really important that, if you know someone or know someone who may know someone, contact the Department of Health and get your kit. They will arrive really quickly. It's very easy to administer. And, some people say, well, what if I hurt the person? Well, you got
You're covered to an extent with, good intentions.
Yeah.
But that's
be
where we
death
do
any
our
day.
training. We want to make sure that the police department in the city of Jackson is covered, so we do training on that.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Banks and then Mr. Harley.
Yeah, let me, you go ahead, because mine is going.
Okay, just 2 quick questions. First of all, for the public, how do they recognize the drug itself? What does it look like, color, size, whatever? And the second thing is, how do they recognize the signs and symptoms of someone that may be under that influence?
Well, of course, being in any type of home where the subject may be on something, whether it be from alcohol to drugs, their demeanor is going to change. They're probably not too worried about hygiene. They're, going into themselves. They're not being quite open with everybody. They're staying in closed areas. They're up all hours. They're, sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down. They'll sleep more. When they're up though, they're running around. They're kind of shaky. There's all sorts of symptoms on that. As far as identification of drugs, I tell everybody, I don't care if it's an aspirin. If I don't know that it came from an aspirin bottle, I'm not touching it. Okay, so don't touch anything that looks like a pill or powder form or liquid form. Okay, if you don't know, contact the fire department and the police department. We will come, we will take it, and we will get it disposed of correctly, because we don't want any accidental overdoses just from the mere fact, back in the day, we all touched everything, but this day and age, everything kind of absorbs, and there's some dangerous stuff out there. Fentanyl is one of them.
If a parent found something, maybe their adult child or teenager has, what should they look for?
Well, I would tell them, one, there's all sorts of private sectors that can help, to see if the child is actually on drugs.
Okay.
But they can contact us. We can go ahead and come out. We can talk. We can see if we see similar things that we know are, leading to possible, drugs or any type of illegal substances being used. But I would definitely tell them that if they find anything, we're not there to incarcerate.
Right, what I'm referring to is, if they see a yellow pill, a blue pill, a square pill,
Call.
a triangle pill,
Call us.
fentanyl could be any of those.
It can,
It can look
unfortunately,
like,
it can
it can
be.
look like a Tylenol.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
It can look
Okay.
like a Tylenol. It can look,
It can look like a Skittle, a
Yeah.
piece of candy. It can
Yep.
look like anything.
yes. They're putting them in anything and everything. So that's what I mean. You've got to watch some of the stuff, especially when it comes to the Halloween time. Make sure you're going to, reputable areas that that you've never had any problems, because, they've got them in all sorts of packaging devices that look like your normal M&Ms, your normal Skittles, things like that. And so, yeah, it's a scary little world,
Thank you.
but it's huge.
Thank you, Chief.
All right.
Councilman Banks?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice President. Chief Watts, I know, you, because I know, I remember you did a sting in the Sheriff Department on loose cigarettes.
Yes.
As we talk about fentanyl, as we talk about these other drugs, my concern is more so the easily accessible drugs that are being sold in our service stations. Whippets.
Yes.
A lot of our young scholars in the Hinds County area are getting them. And here's the thing with it. It's legal to possess it, but it's illegal to inhale it. And it's the number 10 drug in the country right now. They're being sold over the counter.
Yes.
And, is there a way that you can look at that, or is that something that this body's going to have to
Well,
put
this
an
is-
ordinance to restrict?
This is something that we're working on with City Legal. We're looking at, put up a Kratom ordinance to put forward, and we wanted to discuss if there was anything else that we want to put on it as we're doing that, so we can kind of, kill one bird with one stone instead of.
So you're going to deal with the kratom, the whippets, all of that?
Yes.
Yeah, and what they're doing is they're putting them in little things and they're lighting them
Yes.
and inhaling it, and it has a worse effect than fentanyl. It has, what was that drug with the embalming fluid? Wet.
Yeah, well,
It's worse than wet.
Yeah.
Whoa.
The way it affects
Yeah.
our young people. And
yeah,
so,
there's a whole lot of new stuff coming. And,
us old folks
unfortunately,
don't stand
yeah,
a chance knowing this stuff.
yeah.
I'm glad we got it on the agenda, got y'all telling us, because he was educating me just a second ago, telling me about.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
not
so
this
It's those,
one,
vapes and those little pills you can get from the
Yes, sir.
the Totem stuff.
Yes, sir.
I think we need to find a way to have some stiffer regulations, our regulating authority with our service stations that are selling this stuff and our vape stores that are selling this stuff. And the problem is that, again, 14, 15, and 16-year-old kids that go to our high schools
Yes.
are having access to it.
Yes.
And teachers know it. I know, Dr. Griselle, I know you're familiar, but teachers know it, and teachers have to deal with students and can tell
Yes,
when they come into school that they're like that. And I've been hearing a lot about it, and I think that we need to.
Yeah, we
Really?
met with the superintendent last week, myself and the chief and deputy chiefs met over there. We had a good meeting with them about talking about drugs, active shooters, things like that we want to be prepared for with the schools and being able to help. So that is definitely what we're doing. We're trying to work with everybody and get everything in place so we can stop and deter, the activity, especially with our children. But we're looking at, again, we've beefed up our narcotics unit. Captain Hull back here, if you have anything question on that, he's more of the expert. I was over narcotics for a while, but the world of narcotics is changing, so I'm not quite the expert I used to be, but I do know that it's one of those things I tell everybody, when you come across one, please don't pick it up. Contact us, contact fire department. We'll come, we'll recover it, we'll make sure, see what it is. because we're not looking to incarcerate. We're looking to save lives.
Mr. President.
Councilman Stokes?
Chief, we're gonna schedule some community meetings in my ward. I hope y'all can come and educate citizens, because it's something that we need to talk about. Older people have no idea.
Yes, sir.
And if this lady hadn't told me, I wouldn't have placed this item on the agenda. And I heard Councilman Griselle mention about Department of Health.
Yep.
Because I had no idea we need to contact Department of Health. Hearing him, so I know you're on it, and on top of it, then they said it could be pills, powder form, liquid form. You know, ain't
Yes.
no way we
They cooking with it?
Yeah.
had no
Brownies,
idea.
cake.
Like a Skittle.
Yep.
All of it.
So, I know it's a barber shop, and I know ain't nobody getting haircuts 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. But at Martin Luther King and, Woodrow Wilson and Ludlow, please stop by and look at that. We called it in, we've been talking about it. I see them over there at Jazzco, on Woodrow Wilson, and people be trying to go to the hospitals, University and St. Thomas and other places, and these people, they coming in contact, and you see people laying down, you don't know, you
Yes, sir.
thinking,
Yes, sir.
are they asleep, you want to help them, but you can touch the wrong person, you can end up dead.
Yeah. If you've noticed, there's a lot of officers that you'll see wearing the plastic nitrile gloves, because those are protection to keep from having that harmful effect. But yes, you can still inhale it too. We've had officers who's, not our department, but we've had officers throughout the United States that's opened bags up, and just that quick release into the air, they've inhaled it and they'll go down also. So we're trying to train not just the officers, but we're trying to train the public to understand how deadly things are, and to not take it lightly and just pick it up to throw it away.
Thank you, Chief, thank all y'all for
Thank you.
what you're doing educating us.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Item 47.
Mr. President, I'm thinking about, I put it on the agenda because we really need to start discussing whether we're going to get a new stadium for Jackson State. And we have passed a resolution before, but there's no conversation taking place. The legislature meeting on any and everything else, but we do not hear or see them meeting about a new stadium for Jackson State. And slowly we're seeing different areas of the medical profession moving out of Jackson. So they were gonna, first one, while they were saying they were gonna use it for a cancer research place, but if we're not careful, that would be in Rankin or Madison County also.
I agree.
So maybe we need a resolution, maybe we need to bring somebody from the legislature, let us know, what's the status. It's mighty quiet. When Dion was here, we heard more about a new stadium. Now we hear nothing about Jackson State and a new stadium, and
Let's win the SWAC championship, and then we'll hear it all.
I think we're on top. We got, Florida A&M coming here?
Yeah.
Saturday. Is it Saturday?
I hope they bring their band so we can whoop up on them.
They're not bringing the band.
They not?
They got caught up in financial scams.
Budget
Can't
cuts.
afford it.
Mr. Harley?
And Mr. Stokes, I'll contact the JSU President's office and see if they hear anything or have any update for us.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Item 48.
So Fidelis Malembeka, CFO. Wanted to put this item on the agenda for discussion because there's some action that we need to take. This is in reference to the $7 million general obligation note that was issued for the purpose of supporting the water and sewer system. I think it was a lift and shift. And so it is due next month in November. And so the action we need to take is restructure it. And our financial advisor just drove in from Memphis to have this discussion because we do need to have it on the agenda on Thursday during the special council meeting, but I wanted to have the conversation prior to that. So if I could ask Mr. Callender to join us and just provide an overview.
Don't grab it by the neck, by the base. Shift it by the neck, yeah. You can shift it right here, but don't pick it up by the neck. That's
Thank
what break them. All right.
Rookie mistake there. Good morning still to each of you, and thank you for having me. As Mr. Mellenbecker mentioned, this
State
is...
your name for the record, please.
Thank you, thank you. Ricardo Callender with PFM Financial Advisors, 530 Oak Court Drive, Memphis, Tennessee. As Mr. Mellenbecker mentioned, this is in regards to the 2019 GO notes that were issued approximately 5 years ago. This was as a result of the failed meter and billing implementation with Siemens, and the city was faced with a difficult decision at that point to seek financing to ensure the continued delivery of services for the water, sewer, and sanitation systems. As you know, the metering system, the billing system impacted all three because you were not able to collect the revenues necessary to continue providing those services to citizens. So in 2019, we worked with the city to seek financing to continue to support those efforts. I was pleased then, and I am still pleased today to say that 2 local banks stepped up to the plate to provide financing for the city. That was Cadence Bank and Trustmark. As the result of that is that the city entered into a 5-year loan with Trustmark to provide these funds, and the reason for the 5 years was to allow the water and sewer system to get back to where it needed to be for the city to fix the water meter and billing system. And during the course of that 5 years, that you would then begin collecting sufficient revenues to slowly pay this down. We did not anticipate that 5 years later that we would still be roughly in the same boat, at least with an inability to have paid down much of those funds. So in order to be able to execute that financing, we were not able to secure those with water and sewer revenues at the time, so the city issued those with the pledge of your general obligation. That is a full faith and credit of the city and your pledge to repay those obligations to Trustmark.
Councilman Stokes.
These bonds, why did not Jackson Water inherit these bonds?
So these were issued.
Well, this note, because you said it's a note we have.
Sure.
To trust. Why did they not inherit? They're collecting the money, they're receiving all the profits. The city of Jackson's not receiving any money from water.
The notes were issued as general obligation, so it was not covered by the transition to Jackson Water effectively. Now, as I was about to say that the intent is, and believe always has been, for Jackson Water to pay the obligation. So what we're asking is not for the city to fund those dollars, but instead is to refinance it to give the water sewer system additional time to make those payments and those obligations over the course of a longer period of time.
Someone, somewhere down the line, because now they're in the process of completely trying to take the water system from the city. And if we agree with what you're trying to do, then the city's going to be, we're going to obligate ourselves to paying a note that we have no money coming in to help even try to pay the note. Because if they take it from the state, trying to take it from water from the city completely, even if we obligate ourselves, it's going to be our responsibility to pay this note. Jackson Water won't have any obligation, the state of Mississippi won't have an obligation, or if they create a new network, they won't have any obligation. So how do you get the citizens from Jackson out of this hot water where we're going to be responsible for someone else's
So as of right
use of money?
No, and I can appreciate that set of circumstances. In 2019, that is in fact what the city had to do. You obligated yourselves for this obligation in support of the water sewer system.
But we owned it.
So as of, on the debt, or
We owned the water system.
you do own the water system as
We
far
owned
as I
it in
understand that?
2019. We don't own it now.
That is perhaps a more of a legal question there, whether you, who is the ownership.
All right.
But the obligation, the debt the city obligated itself to support it. I think it's well documented in the original documents and resolutions, and my expectation is that it will again be well documented in the new resolution, that it was for water sewer purposes, and that would be part of the ongoing reimbursements that the city would seek from Jackson Water.
Councilman Banks and then Councilman Foot.
All right, Ricardo, thank you for all your hard work. This concerns me, and I want to make sure that I'm tracking. This is the $7 million bond that we took out for lift and shift, and this was the one that anytime money had to be spent, it had to come before that water sewer committee. Is this that same one where we formed that special committee? All right, and so this was specific toward the building, and which means our obligation and our ability to be able to pay for it deals with our ability to have control or to have oversight over the enterprise itself. We no longer have oversight over that enterprise, and the unreadiness with me is I think that there's still disagreement on if we're even going to begin to get franchise fees and some of the other things. So as we obligate ourselves, because on our side of the table, I think that Jackson Water, being that they receive the revenue, are responsible for making sure that they take care of any liability that went with the water system and the sewer system. I think that's still up in the air. I know that it's due, but at the end of the day, I think this body will contend that Jackson Water is responsible for the liability. It's the same thing that we told the state, that if you take our system, then you need to take every liability that came with it, because they are collecting the revenue. And at the end of the day, we are still not getting all of the revenue, even when it comes to our sanitation. We're still not even collecting that. And we're not even sure if we're going to collect just the regular bills that they owe us for water and sewer, even though we're invoicing them. And so it's like we're taking another risk to obligate or to restructure more when there is a greater legal question that has to be answered by the federal courts. And so my unreadiness, colleagues, is there's so much uncertainty to the detail that I do not think was in the stipulated order that should have been. I think there's a lot of disagreements to things that we feel like that Jackson Water clearly owes the city, from franchise fees all the way through everything else. And so as we obligate ourselves to it, and the future is unsure, because the federal government could say, hey, we want to extend this another 5 or 10 years, and we still, for the next 5 or 10 years, aren't collecting the revenue. And he may say, well, I feel like that the city owes us this because we never got this, so I'm going to keep this. And you're still not going to get your sanitation, but then we're still obligated. So I think there has to be a legal question answer of the liability transferring to Jackson Water since they control the system.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, it sure looks like this bond should have been instead of a GO, should have been a water and sewer bond, because the money went to the water and sewer through the committee. And so I think what we need to do is somebody who has access to all the records needs to document the spending of that $7 million. And then the records through the minutes of, on such and such date, the committee voted to approve spending whatever the money was on whatever it was that had to do with water and sewer. So we have a documented record of where that money at $7 million was spent. And then at that point, if we can get that record put together and approach Judge Wingate and say, talk to him about the prospects of making this an obligation of Jackson Water rather than an obligation of the city.
If I may respond to both quickly. Don't disagree with you, Councilman Banks. The liability, however, does currently sit with the city.
Have you looked at the stipulated order?
I have.
And it is still your interpretation that the liability of everything, even though we're not in charge of collections, rests with the city?
It's not my legal interpretation, but from a financial perspective, the bank who did step up to provide the funding, they're going to be looking to the pledge of the general obligation, essentially your general fund. With respect to the second point, I believe the city has and is continuing to well document those, or has documented those expenditures. That record is intact and in place. And I think what this will be able to do is, and there was a small portion that was for sanitation. The intent is that once this is, if and when this is refinanced, that the city would completely pay off the sanitation portion so that moving forward, there's no doubt that the remaining portion is 100% issued for the water and sewer system. One thing that we will have the ability to do as part of the new resolution is insert any language that you wish that's legal to reiterate and double down and continue to document that this is a water sewer obligation.
Before we make this decision, will the administration have the opportunity to really drill down and have conversations with the EPA?
We've had conversations. I don't think we'll be able to drill down and have that conversation before this comes back on the agenda on Thursday, on the special council meeting. But there have been discussions. I see Terry has stood up from, there have been discussions with Jackson Water around this. Go ahead, Terry.
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, not from a legal perspective. I mean, I would just, what I would say is that our legal position is that Jackson Water, under the terms of that, the sewer stipulated order, is responsible for paying this. Between the city and Jackson Water, but between, as far as the bank's concerned, it's an obligation of the city. And so if, Mr. Hennepin is not in a position.
Or refuses.
To pay off this loan when it becomes due, in order for the city to avoid, because, it's the city's credit. And so in order to avoid the city being in default and it affecting the city's, credit rating, that would be the only reason that I would recommend, entering into this transaction, is for that reason. And that, we do whatever we need to do to ensure that, Jackson Water, the third party,
does their part. That's the part that scares me,
yeah.
though.
Yes, and let me just say, we don't have a problem with going back before the judge or whoever else can ensure that Jackson Water fulfills his obligation to pay this note and to pay us back for whatever we have to do to maintain our financial integrity around this bond. But the issue is, as they have stated, that right now, the bank sees the city as the responsible party. And I don't think there's enough time to work all that other stuff out before this loan, this bond becomes due.
Pardon?
What is the due date of this note
November 1st? November 1st.
of this year, 24?
Yes. And I'll share this in terms of conversations with Jackson Water. As you recall, Jackson Water was working on retiring their debt, and we had a discussion with them. They were going to include this portion of it. In fact, they requested for documentation because it was GO, but expenses for water, sewer, and finance put all the records to provide to Jackson Water. And as you are aware, Jackson Water was unable to retire the debt, right, based on how they were planning on doing it. So that's why, this had not been resolved.
Has Jackson Water provided to us an audit? have they provided to us an audit of their financials?
So I know they did request for an extension. According to stipulated order, initially, they should have completed one in January, and then March. Then they request for an extension through June. And I think to today, I've not seen the report.
Has every request for their extension been granted?
So I think they did that through the court.
So it's been granted? I mean, because at the end of the day, if they owe an audit, they owe an audit. You know, if you said that the audit was due in January and then March,
Yeah.
if they requested for the extension, did Judge Wingate grant their extension?
To my knowledge, Mr. Hennepin never made a request to the court for that extension. He reported that in his quarterly reports. You know, that he was, unable to, had trouble hiring an auditor, that,
Mr. Ricardo, you do understand the unreadiness here? Okay. I just want to make sure you understand, because we have a third party that should be responsible for making these payments, and we're just not sure. And this is supposed to come before us Thursday?
That's my understanding, it's Thursday.
Yes, from a timeline standpoint, in fact, the bond counsel was trying to look at a timeline, and there was going to be a request for a special council meeting, and so wanted to have the discussion today and then talk about a special council meeting. President Lindsay mentioned yesterday that she was scheduling a special council meeting for Thursday, so we were going to work with the bond counsel and financial advisor to have documentation ready to come before this body.
Okay, anything else, colleagues? All right. Item 49. Discussion, city attorney.
we'll just postpone that until the next meeting, because those are the city attorney's items, and unfortunately, he's ill today. He intended to bring those forward, but I think they can wait 2 more weeks.
All right, thank you. We're going to move down to reports. Colleagues, by a show of hand, if you could acknowledge that you've received your monthly report. All right, very good. And so now we're going to move into announcements. Dr. Murray?
I have 2 announcements. The first announcement is the Ward 2 runoff special election will be held on October 22nd, 2024. Absentee voting will start October 12th from 8 to 12 p.m. and October 14th through the 18th from 8 to 5 p.m. The last day to vote by absentee voting will be on October 19th at noon. And I think that takes place here at City Hall? Yeah, that's where you will do the absentee voting. My second announcement is you're cordially invited, and this is, the council, you should have received your invitations to the general public, that the State of the City will take place on October 10th at 6 p.m. at the Ice House, 251 West South Street, Jackson, Mississippi. And the event is free and open to the public, and we look forward to seeing you there. That's October 10th, that's this Thursday, at 6 p.m. at the Ice House. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Banks?
Yeah, just want to, again, close this meeting in honor of LaFrederick Taylor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, is there anything else to come before this body? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Yes?
I did have one question. Roll off dumpster day. Is there time?
I don't have any information on that. I was not given information on that.
Thank you.
Roll off dumpster day. All right, is there anything else to come before this body? Hearing none, thank you, sir. This meeting is adjourned.